Thank you. Yes, to turn it off, it wants to vibrate. Play by itself. Whether it resonates or not, huh? It's going to resonate with something. Find something to resonate with. Choose this day whom you will serve. Does that sound familiar? It comes from Joshua 24:13. I think we've heard that all of our lives. And what I'm talking about today is inner peace and healing and resolving inner conflict. And inner conflict looks a lot different in a lot of different people, but it can be the same thing, and we're going to talk about it in various different ways this morning. But choose this day whom you will serve. Well, in our modern day language and culture, I'll change that to read, choose today which inner voice you will follow. The human voice or the voice of spirit. So we're talking about inner conflict, and it can be really distressing. So let's decide how to remedy that. I know earlier that when Nay was reading the daily word, and I was thinking how much that can get in the way and cause us a lot of inner conflict. I didn't include it in my slides, nor did I include it in what I had prepared to say. But forgiveness or unforgiveness can be huge, can't it? And provide a lot of internal conflict. So what is inner conflict? What is it? It occurs when a person experiences opposing emotions, desires, thoughts, or beliefs about a situation or a decision. And this mental tension can lead to stress, anxiety, and difficulty in making choices. It can affect your overall health and well-being. As a matter of fact, it can make you sick. I remember a story that I read several years ago, and I know that I've recounted it a few times, but it's been a long time ago. There was a woman named Evie McDonald, and she had been a nurse for many years, and she admittedly says, I had some really sharp edges. Although I thought I was always right and justified in my judgments of others and my expectations. When she really started to evaluate it, she realized that she had been judgmental and unforgiving a big part of her life. And the way that manifested was that when she was in her 50s, she was diagnosed with ALS, and that's the Lou Gehrig disease that which 99% of the time is terminal, pretty much a death sentence. And she said in working through that she finally decided she didn't know if a healing was for her, a physical healing, but one thing she could do was to heal her emotional and mental wounds. She recognized all the inner conflicts within herself, and she said the biggest one was this. She had hated her body all her life. So not necessarily in order to heal this dis-ease, but to heal mentally, spiritually, emotionally. She wanted to become the best she could be before she left this incarnation. One of the things she wanted to address was how much she had hated her body all of her life, that inner conflict. So she started sitting in front of a mirror for several hours a day in just her underwear, looking at herself, looking at each individual part of her body and finding something to love. And in the process, she did begin to heal this inner conflict between herself and her physical body. And lo and behold, in a few months, she was healed from this terminal diagnosis. There was no sign of it anymore. She was essentially healed. That had not been her goal. She just wanted to heal mentally and spiritually. But in the process of dealing with those inner conflicts, one was, I'm a good person, but on the other hand, she wanted to judge other people all the time. I'm a good person, but I want things my way. She realized how righteous she was. And in doing that, she healed herself. Now, most of us don't have a lot of the huge inner conflicts going on, but we all have them, don't we? We all have them. I know personally we have all sorts of personal decisions. As we age, as our children age, as we've been in situations where our parents have aged, we've had all different sorts of situations where we've had inner conflict. I know, you'll have different things tugging on you at different times. I need to do this for my mother. I need to do this for my children. I need to be there for my job. We all have those internal conflicts. I know Dan said that my internal conflicts ended when our grandchildren were born, that deciding what was best for them always took first place. And then he says he kept moving down, which isn't true, by the way. Everybody knows him and knows he says a lot of things. And yes, when my grandchildren were born, they did sort of take first place for, I don't know, first 20 years or so. No, it's sort of being a grandmother. No, we all know those inner conflicts, don't we? I remember several times when I was still in the regular workforce, and I'd be thinking of doing this for my job, something else for home. One of the kids needed to go to cross-country practice. Dan was doing something else. We're just torn so much, aren't we? And I would just say one other thing before I finish with that, and that is the more simple you can keep your life, the simpler, the better that will be. Cut out as many unnecessary things as you can at those points in your life. We all have self-image, self-worth, confidence issues. You may want here's an example. A man has poor self-esteem, but has an urge for a better job. On the one hand, he keeps saying to himself, well, I can't do any better. But then he has an urge urging him on. That's a conflict. Family responsibilities versus job, career fulfillment. Someone has an opportunity for a promotion, and then they look at that with the money and then the other career achievements they may have, and the reality is it's going to take a lot of time away from their family. So there's a big inner conflict, isn't there? And then a mistake people can make when they're making those is that they'll have a sense of scarcity in that this is the only opportunity I'm going to ever have, so I better grab it. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, just remind yourself in your prayer time that the universe is not limited, and this will not be the only opportunity that comes up. Personal decisions, where to live. You may want to move to Paris, but certain family situations or whatever is keeping you from doing that. So we know those inner decisions. Moral decisions, we run into those all the time, don't they? They're getting easier and easier to do, I think, because we're beginning to see truth right in our faces, and we recognize it. And anything that's not true is not moral. If you're in a job where you're asked to do things, trick people, cheat them, you know your ethical side is not going to be happy with that. You're going to have a moral dilemma, and before long you'll be sick if you don't get out of that job, and that's for certain. One that I see a lot and I've always wondered about, and I know that when people decide to be an attorney or a lawyer, there's a set of rules that you go by. And if you're representing someone, then you're going to represent them to your absolute best. I understand that. But what about someone that has an opportunity to take on a case where she knows absolutely, I mean, there's hardly any doubt that this person committed a really serious crime, but you know this is going to get you fame and fortune. But you know, it's more than likely this person did this crime, and you're going to help get them off. I don't know how you'd take that job morally. I don't know how you'd do that. I do not know. There's a dilemma. Like I say, there's a bit of a disconnect between the rules of protecting this client no matter what, even if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're guilty. I don't know how you would make the decision, the choice to represent them. But then I'm not going to judge that situation because that's not mine. Okay, so how to resolve these? First thing you have to do is to recognize it. You have to see them before you can address them. You have to look at this for what it is. Start to see this inner dilemma for what it is. I have a conflict going here. One on one side of me wants to do this, another wants to do another. I'm conflicted. I have my comfort zone. Jessica had a dilemma this morning. She had an inner conflict. She wanted to share, but it was beyond her normal sharing, so she was having to go outside her comfort zone to do that. And thank you for going outside your comfort zone for doing that. That's a good example of moving ahead anyway when you have an inner conflict. Yeah, moving ahead anyway. So first you have to recognize it, that you have a conflict here. Then the next thing you need to do is engage your spiritual tools by looking beneath the surface of this. Looking beneath the surface was what's involved with both things. I know that my daughter Sherry, when she was young, and she and Al had gotten married while they were in college, and they say they were in extreme poverty for 2 or 3 years there. Then, and she would joke with me at some time. She said, "You know, though, the good thing about being in a situation like ours is that you don't. If you think you're faced with choices, you really only have one. There's only really one good choice." So they weren't even in the realm of having a place where you had the luxury of choices. There's only one, and the other is bad, right? One little choice. I always laugh about that. I'm sure she was listening to me talking about some airy-fairy choice I was talking about, and she's bringing me back down to earth. Mom, there's some choices that you don't even have to make because they're only bad. Spend time in inner reflection. Look beneath the surface. Ask what the situation is trying to teach you. What could you learn from this situation? What could you learn? There's always something to learn. What would my spiritual self, rather than my human self, choose in this situation? What would my spiritual self choose? Then I love this one. Ask the Holy Spirit to decide with you. Ask God to decide with you. In this situation, you have to spend enough time in the quiet to hear. They say there is a spiritual solution to every problem. I believe that. So if you'll clear your mind of any preconceived ideas, that's what you have to do first. Clear your mind of things that you're already thinking. I know that we can have so many thoughts already going on, and a lot of them are negative, aren't they? We're looking at the bad thing that's going to happen here, and we're so worried, and our mind is so jumbled with all these thoughts, we can't clear it sometimes. But one of the things you can do if you're really, really in a jam and you just can't decide between two things, sit with the quiet and ask a question that would give a yes or no answer. For instance, should I take this job? Should I take this job? Make it a simple question. Ask it directly to the higher self, God, Holy Spirit. Ask the question and move your awareness to your heart and your solar plexus. Should I take this job? Should I leave this job and go to another? Should I move to Paris? Going into your awareness and your heart and your solar plexus, does it tighten and clench? That would be a no answer. Does it remain at peace and calm? That's a definite yes. You might ask something like, some of the things that we deal with are they're so simple, but we do. Should I resign from this committee? Should I join this committee? Should I go to graduate school? It can be very simple, and with your body, when it's in touch, you're peace and quiet, and you're in tune with God. Remember, there's one power and one presence. Each of us is in tune with that power and presence. When we are quiet and we go within, that's when we can touch that presence and be a part of it. We keep our thoughts positive. It can change our lives. So we engage those spiritual tools A Course in Miracles teaches that suffering is not required. We can achieve our goal joyfully. A Course in Miracles says this: when you have learned how to decide with God, all decisions become as easy and as right as breathing. When you learn to decide with God, there is no effort, and you will be led as gently as if you were being carried down a quiet path in summer. Isn't that lovely? So we can say to the Holy Spirit, decide for me. And it is done. And the more we seek a sense of stillness, the more we quiet our minds, we connect with that Spirit within us. And there are benefits to be had for working through this process when we address our inner conflicts. We improve our health, of course. Our healing is just around the corner. And one of the things that happens especially is that we build our confidence in ourselves, and we build our confidence in our ability to decide wisely, to make the spiritual decision rather than the human decision. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope that we can all decide to decide with God and let all good things come. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your time.